Hey, this is Roleplaying Public Radio, RPPR, episode 85, We Three Games. I'm Ross Payton, and with me, as always, Mr. Top Church, and special guest, Caleb from Heaven
That's
on
right.
Games.
Hey, I'm going to turn this over to him so Caleb can say something. Say something profound.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Profound. That's why you come to RPPR.
My mind is blown!
We won the Emmy last year. Quality podcasting.
Nothing but quality.
All right. So in this episode, instead of talking about advice about how to make your games better or anything like that, I just thought it'd be fun if we each came up with 3 ideas, basically elevator pitches for standalone role-playing games, and we each pitched them. So we each came up with 3 separate ideas.
Yeah. We did something like this similar with except taking a bunch of random ideas and threads and putting them into one game.
Right.
But this is a little different.
So just a little creativity exercise, something you guys
and
might
our perfectly normal, unprofane language.
Yeah.
In our calm, sedate way.
Yeah, exactly. So, first off, we have a bit of news. So, speaking of game design and writing, we're Base Raiders Progress Report. The main draft is well underway. We're at 98,000 words right now. I'm trying to be comprehensive in covering all the material for it. I have the layout template ready to go, so as soon as I get the rough draft done, I can start laying the book out. I've got almost all the artwork in. I've got a few pictures still waiting on.
They're amazing. They really are.
So it's things are picking up now. The reason why it's being a little delayed is because back in February, Posthuman Studios, the makers of Eclipse Phase, finally responded to a pitch I gave them back in December 2011 for.
Thank you.
Yes, Caleb and I.
That was Caleb.
I have written for their new upcoming book, Transhuman, the Player's Source book, which will be backed on Kickstarter, or they'll have a Kickstarter campaign to do that. You can see the reason I'm bringing this up now is because some of the material is available for viewing on the Eclipse Phase forums. I'll put a link up to that, to Transhuman Open Playtest. I wrote some of the traits and some of the morphs. Caleb's done some other sections that haven't been posted yet as at the time of this podcast. I don't know how much of the book they're actually going to post. Maybe just the rules, because there's advice and there's a lot of good stuff in there, but because I wrote some advice.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. And be sure to leave your feedback about what you think about the trace and all that. Good.
Caleb's not wearing a shirt, by the way.
I love you. Give me more work.
Yes. So
I'll do anything you want.
He will, too.
I'm not desperate.
He is the mantra of the freelancer. So
Totally shameless.
And again, speaking of Caleb, I've finally figured out how to record voice chat on the Xbox 360. So Caleb and I have been playing Dead Space 3 co-op campaign.
We have indeed, Killzone.
We have, and I'm playing the second character who looks remarkably like a guy from Killzone, the video game. So. That is I don't even know what my character's real name is.
Character design guy got a little drunk the night before, and he went on Google Images.
Red glowy eyes. And
yeah, he's completely different than the other one.
he's a gun bro with red eyes. Anyway, so we've put some of our chicanery on YouTube, and I'll put a link up to that, and you can check that out. So that will be fun. And then. Finally, last bit of the thing is the No Evil Eclipse Phase fan creation contest update. We're down to the last 2 episodes of the campaign. We've got a lot of great stuff, not just art, stories, a video,
Preston's
music.
adorable face.
Preston's adorable face, and there's just a lot of...
And a commercial that would convince me to buy cologne.
Yes, it was.
Planned tattoos.
Yeah. Oh my God. There's so much great stuff, you guys, and I know there's going to be more. I like the comic too. Oh man, we don't forget
the comic is nuts.
Yes, that was a fitting epitaph for that Cyrock version. So. Check it out. And again, once I post the last episode, you'll have 2 weeks from the exact posting of that episode to get in your entries. And then we'll judge them, and we'll start mailing out posters. And we'll do a whole episode of RPPR breaking down a post-mortem of the No Evil campaign for the players and the game master's perspective. So that will be in May probably. So look forward to that.
We are traumatized.
We are, yeah. There is so much traumatization, and that's a word now. So, anyways, let's talk about our ideas. So, we each came up with 3 game ideas. I only wrote down a few words to remember them. They're all in my head. So, Tom, why don't you go first?
All right.
So,
my first idea, I have no title for this, of course.
yeah.
But the first one is a game designed where you actually play like a minor mythos god, not like Azathoth or Cthulhu, but more like Dagon or Hydra.
Okay.
And essentially, you are competing with other gods for power and slaves and cultists.
So, is this a little like Earthbound?
A little bit,
Like
except you
the
can
Demon the Fallen supplement?
Except you can actually, like most of them have an avatar.
Okay.
If they want one.
So, they can possess a human?
Yeah, or they can actually form like an aspect of themselves that can interact with the physical world.
Okay, so what's the main conflict of the campaign? Like, what or the game? Like, what's the main thing that they're after? Are they just like fighting each other, or is there some universal
Fighting
threat?
each other. I mean, they're fighting each other mainly.
Yeah.
Which is like more like not. You could get into a fight with another god directly, but
Right.
that's not. It's more your forces getting into a fighting with theirs, or you trying to obtain the evil, human flesh bound book before someone else does.
Okay. Caleb, any thoughts on this?
When you say Earthbound, you're talking about not the NES game, right?
No, there's actually,
because I would play the shit out of
no,
that
It's
RPG.
it's a part of Demon the Fallen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well,
Demon the Fallen, the old world, White Wolf, World of Darkness.
I don't
The old-
play World of Darkness.
We are aware of this, Caleb. Just for the listeners at home, those of you who aren't aware of it, Demon the Fallen, main premise of the game is that you're a demon who's possessed a dying human or some human who just died, and so you're like, oh God, am I a fallen angel? Can I redeem myself? Angst and so on. Anyways, their main enemy were Earthbound, like demons who got more of their power out of hell when they escaped. So they're like ridiculously powerful.
But instead of being bound to a human, they're bound to an object.
Yeah. And the thing about the Earthbound is there's a whole supplement about it where they had rules for creating an Earthbound and playing them and that kind of thing. So I tried to do that for one session years and years ago, and that didn't work out. But yeah, that was my initial.
Yeah, it's along those lines, except you can actually more directly involve yourself.
Okay.
So, and you also not just fighting other cults, but the investigators who are trying to keep that shit away from you.
Okay.
And you can't, and of course, you can't just as Dagon rise out of New York Harbor and start doing shit, because there's going to be some madness, but eventually they're going to hey, let's bomb this monster from afar so we don't have to look directly at it, kind of stuff.
That's interesting. So you like have an inverse insanity thing where like a tolerance, like the more you act, the more humanity builds up a tolerance to you, and the less effective you are. So you have to. So like the game becomes sort of like resource hoarding, where you have to choose when and where you're going to be
scared. But you want people to go insane upon seeing you,
right?
But but it's the more they see you, the more they can see you.
Okay. For me, I mean, it's a great concept, but it sounds more like a board game than an actual role-playing game, or like some sort of strategic, resource management game. Because, like, what are the role-playing opportunities?
Well, can I invent the dogma for my cult? Like their own like rules of the religion?
Yeah.
Oh well, I'm in now.
You have to work out. You work out everything.
So you don't have to be evil. You
don't have to be evil.
You could be like Nodens.
Yeah, like Nodens. Just. Yeah, I mean, you could. I mean, if I would
sorry, Lovecraftian purists. Yeah, I did bring in Derelith. Sorry.
Yeah, but I'm saying like, you could actually be a creature, a minor god that's benevolent if you want to.
Okay.
It's basically it's whatever you want to do.
Could you be a good god of robots?
No.
So Aaron could play.
No, I mean you could be. I mean, I said you could be like a minor god of like metal or fort, like Hephaestus or something.
Okay.
You could make Cybermen. He'd be
Yeah.
okay with turning people into Cybermen.
Oh yeah. That's
You
true.
could do that.
Yeah, you make Cybermen. That's pretty horrific.
All right.
Flayed alive and your brain gets thrown into a metal husk.
But it's for the greater good.
It's
The
pretty
greater good.
cosmic
The greater.
horror, much like all of Doctor Who, which is terrifying upon reflection.
The doctor's the other old one you don't want to encounter.
Yeah,
even as a
you
minor
really don't
god.
want to fuck with him.
Well, that's okay. My other question is, all right, why would these minor mythos gods work together? Because remember, role playing game, it's always about a group, because it's not like one player, one GM usually, unless it's a competitive thing. But like, so why do they work together, or how could you possibly justify that?
Well, I'd say it's
or are they just fighting each other?
because the way I've imagined it, you still like many gods, like you're actually powered by people doing whatever your rituals are.
Yeah.
You have to have people do that, and the
Yeah.
more people you have doing it, so you could.
I'm talking about other
I know
players.
about pooling your resources, like having you could forming like a pantheon that a larger group could worship.
So okay, so they're a pantheon, so they all have to be. So it's all about being a fucked up family,
Yeah, basically.
basically. So all right, a rich family. So it's Arrested Development, the Mythos edition.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
is that a horrible?
So
No.
is Azathoth George Bluth
It could be George.
typing his mad directions towards you?
I'm a monster. No, I think Junior, because you have to have the idiot aspect, or
Okay.
yeah. So I don't know. I'm sure our commenters will figure out who's who.
Yeah.
Maybe setting wise, you could just have like a big elder god, and he'd be like, "Look, entropy's coming.
Yeah.
Get your apocalypse roll." And
Yeah.
maybe it's like a race to the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
who can be the deity that ends mankind? And it could be competitive in that way.
Again,
or do you want to keep the little mortal bastards around?
Yeah, you'd have to fight them, or you could ally, be like, "Look, you can have half. You can have the Western Hemisphere, all
right.
the Eastern Hemisphere, and then we'll both."
But
end the world together."
I want Hoboken.
Never! I shall raise it from the earth, or no one shall.
okay.
Can we at least say Dunkin' Donuts?
Okay. I think that's
will
a good description of the first one. Caleb, why don't you give us your first idea?
All right, so I had this idea I'm calling Two Epochs, because I'm badass and I'm going to name them, unlike you guys. And so I had this idea like from Tolkien and Skyrim, basically every fantasy epic ever, is that you have these histories of like magical fantasy kingdoms that even in a freaking Song of Ice and Fire and stuff like that go on for like thousands of years,
Right.
with little to no technological changes.
They are pretty
like it just
stasis, yeah,
completely
stagnant.
superficial. Like we're still using horses, we're still using bows and arrows. It's just
They don't even rotate their crops. Like
exactly. So like what I wanted to do in Two Epochs, it'd be your basic fantasy game with basic fantasy mechanics. Insert fantasy system here for nerds to freak out and flame war about. But the basic premise of Two Epochs is that you would be playing two characters and you would alternate sessions. And in the first character, you would be the man god who ascended or something, actually living through his life that becomes legend.
Yeah.
Like so you'd be involved
King
in
Arthur.
the Great War against the darkness,
Right.
or putting the demons back in the box or whatever. And then in the next game afterwards, so the GM would have fresh in your mind what you just did, you would be playing like a group of thieves or tomb raiders or something, going through the ancient tombs or background, or trying to find some item based on what you just did in the previous game. And so you're kind of building up in both instances and how your story's going to end, because it's like become the religion and the legend of the land in the second game. And in game A, you're just like a person trying to do stuff.
so, it's okay. So it's not necessarily in the second epoch. Your tomb raiding, it's like, we have the festival of the orc slaying, where 1,000 years ago.
Well, yeah, like if you're like playing Sasha, the farm girl that seeks to rescue her brother from orc raiders.
Right.
Then in the second session, you would play like Murder Bane or whatever, the thief assassin raiding the groom of Shashka the Great to get her rope of orc slaying.
So it's always like the second.
Yeah,
one's
so the
always
second session,
stealing.
you're just like going through the back, like the ruins of what you did in the first session.
Okay.
And then you can also develop a separate story that happened in the second session based on like whatever political things you want to do if you're into like fantasy world building stuff.
Okay. That's interesting.
And then you could have like a Dragon Age 2 mechanic, like I don't know, some sort of point spin system where you can do something in your old story amazingly well,
Yeah.
as if it's being exaggerated when it's told 200 years later. So like it's a historical gray spot that
Right.
allows you to flub a roll and do really awesome at something.
I like that. Yeah. Any thoughts, Tom?
No, I like the idea of exploring the past of another character you just did.
Right.
I don't think I've actually seen that in any other game yet.
Not as like unified game mechanics.
No.
I mean, that would be like a rules like kind of indie storytelling game. You know, like something like Don't Rest Your Head in terms of game mechanics. You
Yeah.
know, it wouldn't. You definitely
You
wouldn't
wouldn't
want.
want D20 or something.
No, you wouldn't want. Yeah, D&D a D&D type game or something that's very rules.
Well, I mean, it
thick.
depends on what you want. If you want
Yeah.
like the strategic combat stuff, you could. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
You're
I mean,
basically just running 2 campaigns.
yeah.
But they're interacting with each other. Like,
Right.
What do I want my character in the future to do next?
Yeah.
And you can kind of metagame decide what your character does in the past, or vice
So is the
versa.
point of the second name pocket is just to live your life, or is it to like create like get out of that stasis or stagnation where you're like the characters finally figures out the fucking Renaissance at the end of it or something like that?
It could be. I guess it would depend on the GM. I think it would just be a game mechanic to be like, all right, fantasy stories always have the
Right.
ruins of other fantasy stories, layer upon layer upon layer of
Right,
them.
right.
And you're just playing 2 at once. Like,
I gotcha.
And then you could your GM in contrasting the coup campaign could talk about the themes of history and stuff. Like maybe the shit that your character in the more current timeline is doing and the legends they're pursuing is just complete bullshit. Like
Yeah.
maybe in the last game you crit failed every roll and you just sucked ass, and your brother got killed by orcs, and you were left dead in a ditch. And then maybe in the future, you're the great orc slayer of millions, and it's just a complete lie in history.
Yeah, see, I see that as being like the GM's interference is like
Exactly.
Yeah, the GM is basically saying no, what you actually did was totally reversed, or like for propaganda purposes, they totally tramped on you. You became a villain instead of a hero, or something like that. And so, maybe that could be a campaign archetype is like redeeming the past, like trying to figure out what actually happened or something like that.
Yeah, and then it's a collaborative storytelling thing. It's
Yeah.
okay, why did that get perverted over the years, or what
Yeah.
changed, or what does that mean now, or
I like it.
I'm liking it too. I'm liking creating an ongoing story between everyone.
Yeah, I think the main difficulty is coming up with those mechanics to figure out how the past influences the future.
And incorporating the other players into the same.
Yeah, because the core stuff of fighting and magic and stuff like that, that's obviously been done. But figuring out I did this heroic action. How what are the mechanics for how does that influence the future? What are the core mechanics for that? That's going to be the bugaboo for it. Trying to figure that out. So
Yeah.
that's if you can solve that, you have a great game. So cool.
Okay, Ross.
Yes.
Hit one. Lay one on us.
All right, so this was actually the idea I had that inspired the idea for this episode altogether, and it comes from actually fantasy. The thing is in D&D, there's 2 kind of categories of magic items. One are just the incremental combat powers where you get better at killing or not getting killed in battle. But then there are the items that encourage creative thinking. The idea that immovable rods, portable holes,
Goddamn portable holes.
Yeah, well, I haven't even gotten one in the Pathfinder game. So, but feather tokens, I can create a 60-foot tall tree just by planting this little feather token anywhere I want. Well, I'll put it in the dragon's stomach. I'm an asshole. Fuck your level 25. So I had the idea of and then taking the aesthetics or the mentality of Portal, and basically the idea is you're all normal humans who have been a wizard put you in a massive labyrinth, and or you're the apprentices of this wizard. In order to prove yourself, you have to escape this endless labyrinth or maze using only magic items that cannot directly fight. You don't get any Vorpal swords or armor or anything like that unless the armor makes you 2-dimensional or something like that. So the idea is a puzzle-based role-playing game using magic items to outsolve typically unsolvable problems. How do you kill an army with 2 immovable rods and a feather token or whatever, or dust of illusion.
Right.
So the idea is clever uses for magic items. You're just a normal person. You can't level up your hit points. You're always going to be fragile. Your skills are always going to be kind of normal. And so you kind of like the Portal 2 character. She's never super badass. She's always about the same level. It's just how she uses the portal gun. So it's trying to do more with less. So, and a little bit of the magic, the video game kind of humor. So that's the basic idea behind it. And that's as far as I got in terms of the idea.
No,
but yeah, like come up with new uses for items.
I like that. I mean, I'm not exactly I am a little ADD, but
right. Well, that's the thing. That's sort of like how do you get puzzle mechanics into a role playing game that's fun and innovative, or at least fun. Like you don't want to do like definitely not that portal. You can't really do portal puzzles in a tabletop game. Like all right. Here's the room. It's fun, like here. There's thing over here, over here, over here.
12, like an hour worth of describing the room later.
Yeah,
we've all forgotten.
Yeah, like you have to come up with CAD, architectural diagrams. You don't want. I don't want something like that. But there's got to be ways to do this kind of thing, and that would be the challenge for it.
Cool.
So I don't know, Caleb.
That sounds really cool. I mean, like, I think the problem would be representing it mechanically.
Yeah.
Because, Portal works off a really simplistic system, applied in various creative ways, like
right.
But there's always point A goes to point B goes to point A. Gravity,
well, it's very simple to pick
constant.
up, but yeah.
But with magical items, like they're like the problem is you're going to come up with solutions for the GM's problem the GM has not considered,
right?
And so like that would be the only problem. But I think it'd be fun as hell to play. So
yeah, but definitely like. Go against the typical fantasy thing of like your characters have level up and become more and more godlike as time goes on. Like I don't want to have something like that. I want to have something where the players are normal people and stay normal people. It's only through their wits and that they progress through the game. So that's and they don't even level up their skills because there wouldn't be skills. You either use it or you don't. Like yeah.
So would there even be a dice mechanic, or would it just be like your own cleverness as a person?
I would say, yeah, that would probably be the thing. Like, it would probably not. Like, I think there would have to be dice in there because, there are things that you throw an item a certain direction, you don't know how it's going to fall or where it's going to land. There's certainly going to be magic items that have unpredictable effects. Wands of wonder. So, but yeah, a lot of it there wouldn't be a lot of dice rolling. So that would, or maybe use cards or something like that for a mechanic, playing cards.
Yeah.
The Jenga tower.
Well, Dread's been done, and I'm not going to do Dread because, like, what else can you fucking do with Dread? You can't like do resource management. You can't like, oh well, I build my city and rotate my farm.
Make a draw to see if your stadium goes up correctly.
Yeah, exactly. That's not
Sim
how it
City
works.
with Jenga.
Just because you can do a game doesn't mean you should.
Might be better than the one that's out now. Not that I'm bitter.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, for listeners though, they've been playing SimCity together.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. It's the
city of Fiddler's Green.
Is it called Fiddler's Green?
That's what I call my city.
Mind Flayer City is turning into Detroit. I've like taxed everybody at like 12%. I've shut off all civil services. I'm still hemorrhaging money.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's going bad.
Libertarian paradise isn't working out for you?
Yeah, eventually
it is not.
I think eventually they just expect you. Well, you're supposed to do the specialization money because obviously taxes aren't going to do it.
To slightly derail, I actually heard the guy who made the first SimCity,
Will Wright.
He was actually kind of a libertarian when he made this, and so the way he coded the game is influenced by that. So like people would play the game, and they found out no matter how incredibly shitty the city was, as long as the taxes were at 0%, no matter like Godzilla shows up, nuclear power plant leaks, no matter fucking what happens, there's always going to be some people there. But as soon as you fucking raise the taxes from 0 to 1%, they're like, fuck it, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm out. So yeah, that's the thing. Anyways, Tom.
Yeah, my next one. Kind of, I guess along some similar lines to the last one Caleb did, but in this one the idea is playing a member of a technological underground in a completely magical world.
All right.
I've seen the other the mist. It's in all kinds of comics,
Final
and
Fantasy games. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the magical people that have to stay hidden from the
Burn Gully,
from the technology world. No, this is different. This is the opposite. The whole world is governed by magic and mysticism, and you are a member of a group that can't use magic, but you're using evil science and technology.
Ooh.
Like being caught with like a metal alloy type weapon would be considered a crime.
Aluminum equals death.
Or if you depending on you could even determine like how if you have computers now or whatever. But
that advanced.
Or it depends on how advanced you want to make it.
Okay.
Or because we don't know that.
Well, is the government like objectively fucking evil, or is it kind of like they're kind of shades of gray?
It's more the technology is an evil force we don't understand, and it can only lead us to damnation.
Well, I mean, I understand that point of view, but I'm talking like overall, is the government like?
I would say the government can be as evil and as oppressive as you want, but I would say probably.
So it's other than the GM.
Yeah, but I would probably say you have to keep it hidden, or on the easiest, be arrested.
Right.
So Dumbledore has death camps for Mondays behind Hogwarts.
Muggles. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, Muggles.
Yeah. And I'm like not even
behind the prefab trailers of Hogwarts. That's where they bury the bodies.
And by prefab, I mean they use the same spell to make the same buildings over and over again. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
What else would I make?
Instant cottage. Instant death camp. Yeah. All right. I like that. I mean, I like the idea of making. The thing is, if it would be less interesting if it was like if they were basically Nazis but with wands.
No,
because I
was more saying the way I more picture it is an unknown, and there are people that actually use that to their advantage. Kind of like the pundits would be
right.
The ones who stir up the public on like the evils of this technology.
Father Coughlin's of the magic.
And so you can, of course you're going to have like sympathetic mages involved who but it's those that saying like it says everything should be looked into and researched,
right?
But it's essentially you're playing characters that you have to remain hidden for whatever reason.
I like that. See, for me, I think the key to it would be making sure there was actually a good reason why the government was dominant. Using magic, like why magic was so dominant, and two, why technology is so prohibited. Like, for example, the reason why they all use magic is because demons exist and they pop in the world. The only thing that can stop them is magic to banish them back to hell. And if we don't do it, we'll be overrun with fucking demons. So we're going to use fucking magic because demons suck. Yeah. And two, technology interferes with magic. So we can't banish the demons. Well, scientists say, we can banish demons with science. Well, I don't want to take a risk, So.
It's unproven.
Right. So that would be my thing, is making it an actual, it's not a clear-cut case that technology is right. You could make an argument either way. So that.
No, I was never, no, I don't want anything black and white.
Right. So that would be my caveat. And then, I like the idea of, they're the underclass that can't use magic. They're magically resistant, but they can't cast
essentially,
spells.
Essentially, it's something that always bothered me with Harry Potter, I must admit, is, if magic is so awesome and powerful, why do you force yourselves to hide? Why aren't you ruling the world?
Yeah.
So you're Voldemort sympathizer?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying it's always been my problem with Superman.
Yeah.
If you're basically a bulletproof demigod,
yeah,
why would you bother with that shit?
That is Voldemort's argument.
I'm essentially saying, but
he wants to take over the fucking world.
Yes, I know. And I'm saying I was wondering, why aren't people like him more common?
Are you gonna have a T-shirt? Voldemort was right.
No, I'm not, Ross.
I think I'm not saying you're wrong. I mean, I got the idea. What I was thinking, okay, what if very Nietzschean?
It's what if magic was the norm?
Yeah.
And the Muggle underclass is what are they going to do? Just
right, make it class warfare. Well, we're gonna get out of our way, pores. You need to pay your wand tax. We get everything to use wands. Fuck you. We need more wands.
It's like we need gold.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Caleb?
I love the idea.
Yeah.
I want to play it, and I want to see Aaron become the Antichrist.
We finally built the first computer. Oh no, computers summon Cthulhu in this universe for some reason.
I think it could be maybe a great soothsayer sees the world today and it's just nope.
Yeah.
Everything's polluted and terrible. No technology for us.
They're running out of helium? Really? Oh God, we can't let that happen.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, I like that. All right. So Caleb, you had the next.
Speaking of underground stuff, so I had an idea. I was just calling it Slingstone. So basically, I think if you take out all the sophomoric like cussing and sex jokes and absurd Irishness, that if Garth Ennis is The Boys is a good gameable concept. If you remove Garth Ennis from it, it's a good concept.
That's a tricky surgery.
Yeah, it is. But basically, it would be Nice Black Asians kind of made me think of this. It's like, what do you do if you were a mundane person who's not an idiot?
Yeah.
And you're up against someone who is a god for all intents and purposes.
Superman hunters.
But they're like that. So basically it'd be that, like espionage for superheroes. Like you have to maintain tradecraft or they can burn you to death with laser eyes. Yeah. But if you organize it right, like with the right mineral weakness thing and research and stuff, you can engage them for revenge or a government or whatever you might need.
So you have to pull off an Operation Black Dolphin?
Yes, yeah, you have to pull off some sort of thing against a superhero or a group of superheroes. Maybe it's a supervillain. Maybe you're doing it for revenge.
Yeah.
But the government would be against you. Maybe you want to off a supervillain that the superheroes just keep letting go because they have a thing against killing. Maybe you're just like, no, fuck it. The Joker needs to die.
Yeah.
He killed my son. He killed my wife. He killed my entire kindergarten class I was Nope. We're going to get together and see this through. We're going to make sure he's murdered. Like, I just think that'd be a good espionage.
And then you find out the reason why they keep releasing him is because he's an informant who's brought down even more bad guys.
yeah. If you want to go that grim dark, you totally can. But it would be like people who are done fucking around with superheroes, which is becoming a trope outside of Garth Ennis.
Yeah.
But it's just that you have no powers. You're just not a fuck up.
Yeah.
And you want to take down somebody who's basically invincible.
Yeah, no, I like that idea. I've thought of that too, like the idea of, especially the game of cat and mouse, like can you outthink someone who has telepathy or X-ray vision? Mm-hmm. And I know like there have been parts of that in mainstream comics, like, but they've mostly been driven by plot conveniences and like kind of like the thing I hate about comics is, they always come up with some new element or some, I have this new vibranium net or whatever, I outwit you because of that. But like in the Punisher kills the entire Marvel universe, the way he gets Spider-Man, he realizes he can't shoot Spider-Man because of his Spidey sense.
Yeah.
He's just going to dodge out of the way. So he realizes, I'll plant a bomb on a fake body and that will trigger a Spidey sense. And then he won't realize I'm about to snipe him in the head. And that's the kind of thing I like.
I remember that. I actually remember like that was actually from a What If comic.
Yeah, but the
actual one he is caught him when he was fighting Venom.
Yeah.
And then used like basically insanely powerful sonic grenades to incapacitate both of them.
Right, but again, that's getting more in the plot device thing. Like how you don't have access to sonic
my favorite
weapons.
in the one where he actually kills more of a unit is how he takes down the Hulk.
Yeah,
he just waits till the Hulk's on a rampage, just tags him with a tracer.
Yeah,
waits till he reverts to Bruce Banner and catches him when he's asleep and just.
Right.
Pops a cap in his head.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that comic too. And like, you could have a range of games you could play within that setting. Like, you could do that at the low end power setting for humans. But if you really want to go up, you could do something like Stormwatch Team Achilles. If you ever read that book.
Oh yeah, I did that.
Really highly trained special operations guys trying to fight, Islamic terrorists jacked up on super soldier drugs or something.
Yeah.
And you could make it more mainstream. We're the good guys too, but it would just have mechanics like, okay, he can hear everything everywhere around the world at all times. How do you have a conversation about killing him without
sign language?
Yeah, exactly. Like without having him lightning burn through the wall and murder you with his hands. Like,
or it's like one I heard, like an old gulag trick, like play chess.
Yeah.
Have a conversation. Most of what you say is crap, but every time your finger's touching a piece, what you say then is actually what you're really talking about.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that's the kind of thing. I think that the key to that game, though, I think the main limitation is coming up with like a concrete set of superpowers and weaknesses and strengths, because again the main thing that comics do that they're really terrible at is whenever they write themselves into a corner, they just come up with some new gimmick, some new device to explain how the fuck the Punisher can kill all these guys. Oh, well, he has special bullets that can kill this guy. Like, those special bullets were never introduced before. How the fuck does he have those sonic bullets or whatever, like, so you would have to come up with like, here are all the known superpowers. There might be one or two, but it's not like they're going to get secondary mutations or they're going to have robot duplicates. unless that's previously been established that they have robot fucking duplicates. You know, it's not a life model decoy. So you have to come up, like, there's one role-playing game called Mutant City Blues, where it's like investigate super powered bad guys, but do it as a crime scene. And they say, here are all the known superpowers, and here's what they can do, here's what they can't do, here's the evidence of what they can do, and here's like, if you have this superpower, you can only have these kind of superpowers, you know. So they come up with a logical thing of like how superpowers actually work, and that I think would be the key to this, because you can't just do generic superpowers, because then they always plot device their way out of it.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean, I think investigating the superpowers of the person that is the target would be a key part of the game. Yeah. Like, how do I inspect on this person without them knowing that I'm doing it for the devices? Or, like, do I want to work with a supervillain to do this?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You know, that kind of stuff.
So, cool. All right. So, my second idea. Actually, an idea I had a long time ago, but Wreck-It Ralph took it. They obviously stole the idea I never published anywhere.
Yeah.
But it's about people, video game characters living in a video game world. And the idea is basically it's a very obviously stagnant society where nobody has any control over their life. And the idea is you're obviously trying to rebel and try and establish your own fate. So the basic... in terms of character, like your character class would be like what your job is in the video game. So you could be like a basic minion, and you can't do much. You can do a little bit of everything, but if you die, it's no big deal. You just come back because you basically have infinite lives. You know, because you're
a foot soldier. You're a foot soldier.
Or you're a shopkeeper and you have items, but you have to sell them. You can't just give them away because you're a shopkeeper, not a charity service. And you're also, you can't even be attacked. Like you're like, it's not physically possible to target you in an attack. Like, you know, the ultimate evil bad guy is just going, oh, well, you're selling them healing potions. Well, fuck, you know, I can't really do anything about that. Or if you're, so the idea is to take these kind of tropes. And then the conflict would be you get to choose between keeping those tropes and being stagnant, or trying to change and becoming more of a complex character but losing some of those invulnerabilities. So it's like giving up your old self and becoming something new.
Right.
And then dealing with a world that is totally fucked up, you know, because it's, yeah. So that is the basic idea. It would be an indie rules light storytelling focused game. And I actually outlined it, but I never got anywhere with it because I couldn't figure out, you know, how all that would work out, or I was just too lazy to try and figure out all the classes. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, it sounds interesting. I mean, especially I think you'd have to actually map out the classes themselves.
Yeah, that was my big.
And there'd be a lot of them.
Well, that was the thing, trying to get it into a manageable number. You know, like, do you minor NPC versus main character versus like old school versus new school? Like, actually, just when we were playing Dead Space 3, I actually thought of a new mechanic for it, which is like you could be the old school character who believes in the Old Testament of video games, like checkpoints are for weaklings, you know, versus the new characters who can just sit in a corner and regenerate health, and if they die, they come back at a checkpoint.
Med kits, what are those?
But on the other hand, the old school characters have access to glitches and exploits that, you know, because their games are buggier, you know.
Their skills are also higher.
Yes, their skills are also higher because they have to be in order to survive. It's a very Darwinian struggle. So that was my idea for that. But, you know, struggling versus static versus dynamic kind of material.
I think it'd be fun. I'm not sure how a campaign could possibly work.
Well, it'd be rules light.
Yeah,
so you do like maybe a 2 or 3 part.
Yeah, it'd be a 2 or 3.
It'd be like a thin little paperback, you know, $10-$20.
No, it'd be fun. I'd play that for certain.
Yeah.
I think I'd play little child NPC that gets rescued.
Oh yeah,
like I'd be fetch mission NPC. Like I can't do anything, but like if I get kidnapped or something, hordes and hordes of heroes are going to come save me.
See, that would be a good idea. Like the whole thing would be hijacking video game mechanics to try and overthrow the video game hierarchy.
Yeah.
So like the fetch can give other players quests. Be like, your new quest is now to overthrow the system.
I'm also a child, so I can't die in the game.
You can't even.
If people don't rescue me, then they just die.
Yeah.
For not rescuing me.
Oh, wow, yeah, reload.
Yeah, like it'll just go dark. You failed.
Oh man,
and you never actually see me get killed.
Or like a character in a fighting game. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
You can just fight someone else who's another fighter.
Yeah, you can substitute your fighting skill for like social skills.
Okay, occasionally, like you could like break a car.
Yeah, you could like you break it conveniently.
This is as still as I can stand.
Gravity Falls. That was a good episode. So all right, so that was my idea. It's pretty simple, but Wreck-It Ralph. It would be different than Wreck-It Ralph. Okay, it would be better. All right. Anyway,
Yeah.
So anyway.
All right, my third idea is all the players would essentially be members of a movie crew.
Yeah.
Partaking in a kind of like you have a movie you're trying to make, which you determine ahead of time. The thing is, you're in a contest. You have to get your movie finished. Only this is one of those situations where anything goes. If you want to assassinate the script writer for an opponent's movie, you can actually do that. So
are you all trapped in the same location, or are you like
in the same city?
In the same city,
actually, in the same region.
Yeah,
depending on what kind of movie you're trying to shoot. So you're like your location scout. You'd want to have he's a professional location scout and a sniper, or knows recon.
Yeah.
So, it's essentially you're trying to finish your movie, and it has to be a good one. You can't just, I'm going to do some avant-garde movie, The Red Balloon, so I can just stay in this one room all the time. Or do Skyline, where it's an epic alien invasion shot from this one apartment.
Yeah.
It has to be a good one. And essentially, but you can do anything to sabotage the other crews, up to and including assassination, stealing props, kidnapping actors they've hired.
Okay.
And
so what is the backstory? What is the justification for this?
My question, exactly.
It's kind of along
dystopia,
dystopian Hunger Games type thing.
Dystopian Hunger Games,
except it's shooting a movie. So essentially, and also you're only you have to obtain your own budget, which can sometimes mean robbing.
Jesus, that's pretty hardcore. Oh, I actually have an idea. I just thought of a backstory for this. It explains it. All right, so in the far future, this dystopia, things suck and computers become very scarce because they can't get the rare earth materials for them. Blah blah blah. So they can't use them on frivolous things like computer animations, and the government starts seizing computers and that kind of thing, or all the high powered stuff that are previously used to make big budget movies. And of course the movie studio, and of course life becomes very cheap because overpopulation and global warming and blah 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 blah. So future dystopia suck. So the government and the movie studios come up. As soon as they stop using hundreds of millions of dollars CGI movies, their box office starts dropping precipitously. So in order to bring back crowds to the theaters and to TV screens or view screens or whatever they have in the future, they realize, well, we can't use much CGI anymore because we don't have many computers. Well, why don't we just make them a reality game and they started out non-lethal, but they got more and more violent. So it's been 50 years of this now. Now it's just yes.
And so that's cool. That's great. Good backstory. I was kind of thinking you have to balance it out. Okay, it's all right, we're gonna take out their executive producer who signs all the checks. But if we could get an awesome shot for our movie at the same time, it's essentially you have to make sure the others don't do as good as you.
Okay.
But at the same time, yours has to be really good.
So everyone's on the same. All the players are on the same film crew. Yeah, they're all working together for that.
And of course, there's however many teams they're going to be going after you.
Right.
All right. What if only one movie gets made per year? And that's what the competition is for. So since they've limited it for the computer use, what if you can get a CGI budget, but only one movie per year?
So this is,
so it's in order to make up for all of Hollywood's money, it has to be the best movie ever every year. And so they're using Darwinian evolution, but for film directors.
So
the weak shall be cold from the heart.
And of course, it's dystopian, so there's all kinds of wars. So there's no shortage of people that
are willing to die for
people
their
that
art.
are out of work but know how to use weapons and
right. I so Kale, for your idea is the CGI movie is produced normally, but in order to win the right to make that movie, you have
to be the last film crew alive.
Right. So so are they just making a short to be their entry into to prove that they can make the big movie, or what?
I think they just shoot footage until the last one standing.
So basically, so whoever's left standing, they then throw the CGI at it.
Well, that again, but,
then you get the millions of dollars to make it better.
Unless of course you can
fuck it, we'll do it in post.
Unless of course
that could be the name of the game.
Well,
fuck it, we'll do it.
Well, yeah, it's last one standing, or if you actually film a movie.
Yeah,
and get and actually make it good and submit it.
Yeah,
and it's better than anything else. And it's even if there's if multiple teams actually finish their movie.
Yeah,
then it comes down to now it's down to the best one, which is done by a team of veterans and
the MPAA Death Squad.
And,
movie piracy is a little harder to do now.
And I was probably thinking it's not like the
once they got the legally right.
It's not that the whole other crew gets killed.
Yeah,
the director.
Yeah,
he gets killed.
Of course,
but no one gets paid on any of the losing side. So the director, his life's on the line.
Yeah,
but the others, and also the paycheck is huge for anyone working on this.
Right.
So wait, there's some grip out there. It's just I've seen 36 directors get shot in the head.
Basically.
I've been working for 40 years and never been paid once.
It's he'd have to. Obviously he'd be down at the local.
This is a labor of love. My wife supports me. She's a nurse. She patches up all the wound.
Yeah, basically that's it.
Oh wow.
So it's filmmaking with guerrilla warfare.
Yeah, no, I like. There is one thing that RPGs I don't think have really done very well, and that's kind of project management in the sense of guiding a long-term project that requires the help of many people from beginning to end. So make it an RPG that actually has mechanics for how do you make a good movie?
Yeah, it would have both. It would have the regular combat mechanics and managing your crew.
Right. But how do you, so the kind of mechanics to cover that.
And of course, the players would be the really important people.
Yeah, of course.
You want
they're the above the line people.
Like the producer whose job it is to get money. Right. You want to hire a guy says yes, I produced personally 12 films myself, and I was one of the best professional thieves in the world for 10 years. Of course, yeah. So you'd want a professional producer who also has robbed banks.
Right. Okay.
Because you're not going to the studios aren't going to give you any money except some basic startup money.
Sure, of course, because this is a role playing game.
Boy with an eye patch, facial tattoos, and teeth sharpened into knife points.
Minions, yeah. Above the line would be producer, director, script writer, and the main and the cast. We have to the actors and their entourages, that was the main thing. A lot of leadership feats and minions and stuff like that. I would
actually say
the actor, the Mook Shield.
I would actually say but the actors still have the Screen Actors Guild. You can't kill them. You can kidnap them.
Oh, of course.
Or make it to where they don't want to work on the. Depending on the
Can you scar them at least? We'll undo that plastic surgery.
Well, not if they're A-list.
Have you ever seen Cecil B. Demented?
Yes.
It sounds eerily like Cecil B. Demented.
I think, yeah.
I haven't thought of that, but yeah. But I think you could have actors there's the A-list.
Yeah.
That you cannot touch them because they're A-list stars.
Okay.
Now the ones who are just the B-list actors, you can actually hurt them.
Right.
And extras, you can just mow down.
Right. Well, of course, they're extras.
But whereas A-list stars, first you have to convince one to be in your movie.
Yeah. So
you actually have to be able to pitch and do social.
I think players should be able to be an actor if they want to.
Yeah.
I think that should be a thing. But yeah, no, I like it. That's very
hardcore. I say.
It's a very interesting concept. I think. So Caleb.
I don't want to go after that one. I feel
I see.
Anything's going to be disappointing.
Do you want me to go then?
I guess I'll go.
Do you want me to bring? I'll go. I'm ready to go.
No, I'll go.
All right.
All right. So I've been looking in. I've been reading a lot of The Sixth Gun lately by Colin Bunn, and I came late to that.
Mentioned on the podcast before.
Yeah, I came late to that comic.
Yeah.
But I like it. I like that it's Weird West, but not every human knows how to do magic and stuff. There's
right. It's not Deadlands.
Dark shit in the world, yeah. But you have guns, and grit and stuff. So I had an idea because I've been researching a bunch of Western systems, and I'm not really thrilled with any of them. And so I had an idea, and I'm calling it Towards Hell and Legend. So basically, it's kind of if you've ever read Midnight Nation, that comment by Michael J. Straczynski.
I've read a few issues.
Yeah, where like people who just are kind of on the outside of society just kind of drop off into this middle world. So there is like this middle world, but it's the frontier. Like it's the liminal state between like what humanity knows to be reality and what is obviously not reality. And it's kind of this fuzzy magic area. And so the game would be there and somewhat ahistorical, because I feel like a historical Western is either too depressing or just noir with horses.
Yeah.
If you're actually sticking to
a bunch of drunken, smelly people
shooting each other while they're in the outhouse and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's not very heroic.
Yeah,
so
like the reason why the OK Corral shootout is so famous is because it was the actual like legitimate gunfight of the Old West. Like,
yeah,
like there weren't
not
that
somebody
many
getting
of them.
shot. Like
Yeah.
So, it'd be ahistorical and more fun that way. But there would also be like Weird West stuff.
Yeah.
And so the basic mechanic, you'd be on the frontier. If you headed west, because you're not in a state anymore.
Yeah.
You're getting closer towards magic. If you're heading east, you're trying to get closer towards reality. But the thing is, once you're in the frontier, you can't leave. You're trapped there. And the only way to get out is to become a legend, so that you go so far west that you get power that can bring you back to the reality if you so choose. But if you go too far west and you don't have that power, you go to hell, basically. So it's about there'd be a stunt mechanic, and I picture something like Moxie. And it'd be a little like Iron Heroes. The only way to get more of the Moxie, which I'm calling gumption, would be to do, ridiculously dangerous thing at dice penalties. I think there'd also be a gambling mechanic. Like, okay, I'll give up 2 of my gumption points and take a minus 40 on this roll, but then I'll win 3 if I pull this off and stuff like that. And the thing is like, you need to get like magic items, because I like the 6 gun. I like the idea like that. But you also need to like perform enough daring, badass Western deeds
Right.
before you get west, so that you become legend instead of go to hell.
Right.
So
the whole thing about becoming a legend actually reminds me a little bit of Unknown Armies. Have you read much about
I
that?
have not.
It's a Greg Stoll's RPG, and it's a modern horror. I actually have a copy. But the basic premise, one of the things in the game are avatars, and the idea is you can become the mother or the wandering, the lone warrior. I forgot what they are, but the idea is you live up by doing things in this archetype. You eventually become the avatar of this archetype, and you gain powers based on it. So it's a very similar kind of mechanic. Like you're trying to live up to the potential of the mother, and like whenever you protect children, you gain bonuses against gunfire or whatever. So you become more and more supernatural as you start walking to this. But only one person can actually be the avatar of the archetype. So there's like struggles between who will be this avatar and who won't be. So it's a really cool mechanic. And like there's one for the merchant where at the highest level you can actually buy and sell anything. Souls, concepts,
Nice.
love, like it's pretty crazy.
Nice.
And so anyways, that's my first thought on it. Tom?
I like that. I kind of like the idea to it. I love like worlds hidden within worlds type
Right.
stuff. I really love that concept, and I like the Old West when it's done right. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, the romantic Old West never existed.
Yeah.
No.
In fact, yeah. Fun fact. That's the typical two men standing across the town square.
Yeah.
Quick drawing, and that's only ever happened actually one time.
Yeah.
I was in actually Springfield, Missouri's town square. Wild Bill Hickok and someone else. That's the only time that happened
In recorded history.
in recorded history.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, everybody who plays a Western game wants to do that, though. And, like, Western RPGs are either, like, trying to simulate realistic stuff, which is ridiculous, or they come up with this, like oddly specific alternate history in which you can do this. Like, Deadlands is just ridiculous. Like, it was like, well, now the Reckoners have come. I'm just like, oh, God. It reeks of New World of Darkness with
Well,
stats
yeah,
and hats.
like because the thing
It's
is,
so meta plotty, and I'm just like, and if you just like keep it like liminal and kind of archetypal,
Yeah.
I think that would be far more fun than like having a really defined system. Because that way you could have like, okay, you're in the frontier, but there's still this evil land baron going after these other people trapped at the frontier. So you want a regular Western story that's there.
Yeah.
Or maybe you run across the lost wagon train and they are all cannibalistic monsters. And you've got like, so you can do whatever kind of story you want if you keep it ill-defined like that. But, you can still have fun and not make it Unforgiven, where you're just like, I'll kill you if you come out. And my wife's dead. That's not escapism that anybody wants to play. So
Yeah.
Like 3 of my kids died from the rickets.
yeah, pretty much.
Last night I saw a jackrabbit with a woman's face.
Yeah, I think your first game should be like Unforgiven. And
So
then you
there is some civilization in the frontier. There are like towns and
yeah, there's people out there, but they've dropped off of society.
they're kind of like. Are they aware they're in the frontier? Or
yes, they're aware.
Right. Kind of reminds me of the movie Purgatory.
Yeah, a lot like that. That's
Okay.
what I would like it to be like. Only vaster, so you could go.
Not
So
just
it's
one
timeless.
town.
yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
So I know you mentioned earlier when you were playing Dead Space 3 that you wanted a lot of magic items in it too. So is that like a common thing?
Well, if I did a campaign of it, my first picture is like I rewatched Afro Samurai because I made a poor choice.
Yeah.
The other day, and
Wait, you rewatch what?
Afro Samurai because I made a poor choice and chose to watch that. And the thing is, like, I like the setup of the number 1 and the number 2.
Yeah.
But I hate the actual series. So, like, I think there would be the Genesis gun, which is the gun that the best gunfighter has, and he's immortal.
Yeah.
And then there's the Revelation gun, which is the only gun that can kill the person holding the Genesis gun.
Yeah, no, I like that.
And-
When I first watched Afro, I was like, that's a badass idea.
That is a badass idea, and I would totally steal that if I ran it. And like the whole thing would be like you're trapped in, the mundane actual West, and then the conflict between the two guns enters your world because both the men who
So it's a little like Ravenlock that
because both the men that have them are legend.
Yeah.
And then you get dragged in, like you make a posse with your PCs and you go chase them, but then you're in the frontier, and then it's all a matter of like, how do I accrue enough power to face these guys with these guns? And I would have like other magical items called just the kit, and they'd be other like embodiments of the West. So there'd be the chain, and anyone hooked to the chain is enslaved in body and soul. So
Or
it's like
playing
creepy
the-
magic thing.
Or the
Right,
cards.
right.
Or there'd be boots that make you faster because
whiskey.
and everything would be like whiskey. You ignore all wound penalties and traumas, but you're instantly addicted to alcohol. Like everything would have like some serious
Consequence.
drawback, but no like people would be magic.
Right.
You would just you would get these things that embody magic, and you could use them or not use them depending on how much you felt it was important.
I gotcha.
And the basic premise would be like the one thing that they leave behind in the gunfight that the posse has is the map. And so the map just has X's on it.
Right.
And so you go to the X's, and that's where the next thing is.
And we get the roofing nail of truth.
Yeah, the roofing nail of truth.
Nice.
And that would be enough for me. So, I'm sold on that. It does need some good cinematic style stunt rules and gunfight rules and that kind of thing. I'd be.
I'm all for that.
Yeah, no, go for it. So I guess it's my turn, and my last idea is basically recently I read up on rebel fighters and fighting in Liberia, which is very brutal and very just depressing as hell. But like a lot of these other people, they're have no education. They have very superstitious beliefs. And one thing that's sort of particular to the Liberia is they believe that some of these fighters believe if they have conflicting identities. If they're a man, but they wear women's clothing, then bullets can't find them. Like enemies, their attacks will not find them. Or you see these photos of these guys, these young rebels in wedding dresses or wigs and very elaborate costumes, but they believe that they're magic. And so my idea is obviously, what if magic was real, and we made a version of this, like the same kind of dynamic, where the reason that these rebels get recruited is because the warlords go to them and say, I will teach you magic, I will teach you, become part of this elite secret society, and you will have power over other people, and that's very alluring to these young people. So America, or the West, mythos magic is discovered, or becomes very popular, and so these people, like, I want to conquer all of
Hoboken.
Yeah, well, all of Hoboken. And I have enough magic to do that. I will just get armies of teenagers to, and I will teach them a little bit of magic, and we'll give out guns to everybody, and the government can't stop us, because the thing is, in this setting, in this game, magic will actually be real. It will be horrific, but you can actually cast a spell to make you bulletproof. And so the PCs are all people who have, like, gone through this, and they've left the army. Like, their unit was wiped out, and they just wandered away, or they fled into the night, because these are very chaotic, very disorganized kind of groups. And so the idea, America and the rest of the world is torn apart by civil war, by these competing warlords. There's monsters roaming around. They're summoning unnatural things. And so the idea is, you have this source of power that traumatized the hell out of you, and it's pretty dark. It's not easy to use, but you can. Are you going to use that to fight evil? Or are you going to just try and find peace in your life? What is your conflict? And then in the game mechanics, the main thing is, one thing I've wanted to do for a long time in a role-playing game is create a system of magic that anyone can do. As long as like magic, if you actually read the historical magic spells, they're just like, do this, this, and this, and you can talk to a dead guy, or you can summon a demon, or you can make someone fall in love with you. It's not like Hogwarts, or where you have to be inherently magical.
Right.
It's like literally
like the laundry, perform the instructions in the right order.
Yeah.
Don't fuck it up and you'll be fine.
Yeah, but everyone fucks up. But like the thing is that, so the idea is create a system of magic where like you just get a system of instructions, and like if you do this, you've cast you perform this ritual, you're now bulletproof. You've sacrificed the goat, you've covered yourself in the blood, you spoke the right words, and you did it under the moonlight. You're bulletproof for the next 6 hours. Good luck, so anyone can do it. So the players can literally teach other people magic by just telling them what to do, which case they're like, do I really want to do this? And it's more, what are the effects of power, and what kind of things you do.
Kind of reminds me of movie Cast a Deadly Spell.
Yeah.
It's basically like set in like LA in the 40s, where
Right.
everyone uses magic, and it is just anyone can use it if they learn.
Right.
So yeah, I like that a lot.
So
especially when magic's not all awesome and great.
Well, I don't like the idea. Yeah, so the idea of like only special people can do magic is very ahistorical. So,
well, it would be the apocalypse.
Yeah,
like it would.
I'm telling you, it's Civil War.
It's like, but like really, there's nothing the PCs could do. Like it would be the apocalypse. But once you put like how to be bulletproof spells on the internet, it's pretty much game over. Like for human society, I think like collapse would be imminent.
Well, I think the thing is, I think it would be possible. I would posit that there would be a way. If you kill the warlords, then maybe perhaps the rules of the universe change and the spells would no longer work, or something like that. There may be a way to end magic or something like that.
Or like maybe the government would make owning all goats illegal.
Right.
Or exterminate goats or something.
Right,
like,
right.
I don't know, but like it would be real tough to survive.
I'm not saying it would be like easy, but I'm saying I would, if I were to create this game, I would make it so that it would be possible to do it. It would just be ridiculously hard.
And we'd have to give up a lot.
Right. But the idea, the obviously is stopping the warlords. If you can stop the fighting, because the warlords are the one organizing and agitating this, then you can start repairing the damage. But as long as they're out there fighting each other, trying to claim territory, who knows? So, and of course there would be mysteries and revelations and like, aha, this is why things are like they are. It's a secret conspiracy of sparkly vampires.
Ah!
Yeah.
I quit.
Yeah, fuck you.
All right.
Or no, that would be what unites everyone together.
Kill them!
I'm still, someday I am going to run that game of Twilight without Edward and Bella, where the idea is Charlie Swan, Vampire Hunter. I saw it on a post on Tumblr. This is the thing I will do, where it's like one of you is Charlie Swan, one of you his old buddy who happens to be a werewolf, and the other one's a town doctor who happens to be a vampire. You have to stop the bad vampires from killing people.
Charlie Swan couldn't do shit. They're so ridiculously overpowered. Like, they could shoot lightning out of their hands. They could fucking teleport. Charlie Swan would die. Like, vampires have more fucking powers in that goddamn book
Than
series
mages.
than Superman. Like, they can make mini vampires that they shoot out of their fingernails. I don't know. It's absurd.
Well, there would be some posit that Charlie Swan would be the plot device, and there would be instead of Bella, so there would be something special about him.
He gets by on mustaches.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe I know he's the anti-vampire. Anything within 100 feet of him loses their vampire powers. They're still tough, but they can't shoot lightning out of their hands or something like that.
Work your dark magic.
Yeah.
A drunk Charlie Swan is indestructible. Or he could be Jekyll and Hyde. I don't know. He could be, So we'll figure it out. But so I think that kind of sums up our game ideas, and everybody else kind of got their three ideas. So
Good stuff. Good
yeah.
stuff.
So when we come back, we'll have shout-outs and anecdotes. We're running a little long, so we won't do the letter, so we'll do that next time.
Yeah. Besides, Caleb's here.
Caleb's here.
Say hi again, Caleb.
Yay.
Hello.
Yay.
It's profound.
All right, so we'll be right back. And we're back. And that music, which I have not chosen yet, is pretty awesome, don't you think?
Oh,
I choose the music after we record the episode.
it brought tears to my eyes. Like, should have sent a poet.
All right. So in terms of shout-outs, I have a bunch, but first off, I would like to give a shout-out to two gaming podcasts that I've talked to recently. One is Idle Red Hands. They're expat gamers in Japan, and they do a podcast about Japan and games.
Sure.
They have 2 episodes about Tokyo, which I listened to and used as reference for the Tribes of Tokyo game I'm running right now. That's where I
Nice.
found out about Kabukicho, which is a nasty little district full of bars and crime. And you guys know all about Kabukicho now.
Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Haste podcast, they're the podcast of the people who do the Obsidian Portal, the campaign tracking wiki people. And I interviewed one of the co-hosts of that a little while ago, and they won the Silver Innie last year. And I didn't hang out with him last year at Gen Con because I had to go to Scott Glancy's game for Gen Con.
Yeah.
But I want to give them. They do a good
Nice
podcast.
job, you guys.
They do a good podcast, and they're doing a Kickstarter right now, which I mentioned on the interview in more detail, to upgrade Obsidian Portal. So there are those
Awesome
podcasts. Caleb, you had one.
Oh, we're doing shots?
Yeah.
Last week at movie night we watched Breaker, which
Yeah.
is awesome and like the best Dirty World scenario I've never run.
Yeah, it's the riff tracks of it, by the way.
Yeah, so Chuck Norris
Yeah.
is the trucker of all the truckers. And
Even without a mustache.
you can tell he's the most powerful trucker because he's the only trucker that doesn't have to wear a ridiculous hat.
Yeah, we're talking not just like cowboy hats or trucker hats.
Chef's hats, like
Pirate
tri-point
hats.
Napoleonic war hats. Like, it is awesome. And there is this crazy. I wish I remember the name of the town. It was ridiculous.
It was like Texas Corners or something.
Yeah,
or like in California.
In California. Yeah, it's like something ridiculous. There's this crazy town run by this crazy corrupt mayor.
He's like a Shakespearean actor. He's like
who
hamming it up,
performs Shakespeare.
chewing the scene.
And like he runs a speed trap in this town exclusively for truckers, and he imprisons Chuck Norris's little brother on his first run. And so Chuck Norris goes to this town, and oh god, I don't want to give too much away, but aside from kicking everything in sight, he eventually gets a CB radio and calls down the convoy, and it's insane. Like, these truckers are just like, speed trap, fuck that, and like they come in like droves and they just start driving through buildings. Like, there could be women and kids in there.
Yeah, no, they
like
could.
everyone in this town's involved in the speed trap, and fuck these guys, and they just mow the town down with truck. It's like Duel on crack.
I think that the finale is pretty fucked up, but I think the David Lynchian parts of the middle of the movie. Like, this is not just a small little town. This is a fucked up, weird town.
Yeah.
This is really weird. And I think, though, my single favorite what the fuck moment was the Chuck Norris is fighting a guy in a junkyard, and there's a helicopter overhead shouting.
I forgot about the helicopter.
Like, like he's trying to tell the bad guys where Chuck Norris is, but he's just like using a PA system or something. I don't even loudspeaker.
CB radio from the 70s.
He doesn't have a gun. He has no other capabilities but to yell over a PA, and I have to craft some sort of scene in a game like that where there is someone just flying overhead commenting inaudibly. Like, and
the new Bryson Springs.
Yeah, and like that's their only function.
Oh, it was Bryson Springs. Yeah,
is to yell random nonsense.
Yeah. Because clearly the legacy of Bryson Springs fucked up the collective psyche of this town, and they're all like at half.
I don't know how that explains the hats. The hats put it definitively.
The hat
in a different
70s.
universe.
Remember, this is also the airbrushed van era.
Strode.
All right, so Tom, you have.
I have one. It's a Skyrim mod that totally is. I think they made just for me.
Yeah.
It's called Lizards of Skyrim. You can find it on the Steam Workshop. It essentially turns every NPC in the game world into an Argonian.
Okay. Yeah.
And they keep the same voices and everything. It even does it for children, and those look freaky.
It's what I always wanted.
Yeah. Have you?
But yeah, it's like my mod.
Yeah, of course. There's another mod I heard about. I haven't played it yet. Where they turn Skyrim into like it's on the equator all of a sudden, like it's hot, warm and jungly, and like it's. Have you seen?
I haven't heard of that one. No.
Oh man, like they totally reworked it to where it's like a warm environment, like a jungle-like or desert-like environment or something like that. Yeah, it's really crazy. But
it makes sense. My favorite thing to do in Skyrim was to go as far north in the map as possible, jump into the ocean of ice in full armor and just swim around. And now nothing happened to me. Just like, yep. Hey, Horker. Hey, Walrus. I'm comfortable, too. Take off all my clothes. Yep, still fine.
I was like, hey, you ever heard of hypothermia? Neither have I.
I would like my next shout out would be a movie, The Corridor. It's on Netflix. It's on Amazon too. It's a interesting little horror movie about 5 friends. One of them's crazy. Stabs another friend through the hand. This is in the first 5 minutes of the movie. And then years later, they go to the crazy guy. His mother dies, and the crazy guy gets her cabin, and he invites everybody else to try and reconcile with him. So it's about them going to the cabin for the weekend in winter, in a cold place, and try and reconcile. And of course, they're all in their 40s, and one guy's a jock, one guy's a nerd, but they're all friends. But there's tensions, and then fucking Yog-Sothoth shows up. Is the only way I can put it. It's like first contact with a great old one, because you just see how humanity their sanity is just melting under just brief contact with this thing, and it's not really a thing. It's just like a corridor. It's like this place where reality is different, and I don't want to give it much more away, but if you want to see it, I like the movie because for me it's like what happens when humanity meets a great old one. Like, not like the great old one's even aware of their existence. It's just like it's just kind of there in that environment, and the just briefest contact high with the great old one, and it gets fucked up. Did you see it, Caleb? Or
I did not.
Okay, it's really good. Well, it's not like the best movie, but it's worth watching. Anyway, you had a.
So I picked these up a while ago, and I finally got a chance to read them. They're called the Graphic Canon, Canon. And what they are is they're supposed to be, I think they're supposed to be 3 volumes eventually, and 2 volumes are out. They're these gigantic, like coffee table sized books.
Yeah.
That are collections of graphic novel adaptations of canonical literary works. And they're not the whole thing, obviously. They're abridged, but like it's really cool, and it moves like it's global, and it moves historically, so like it's really interesting. How
Tale of Genji and all that.
Yeah, like Tale of Genji's in there, and like it's really out there for world literature. Like they go all of they talk about Incan plays I'd never heard of, and I've English majored for 6 years. I'd listen, but like they bring up a lot of world literature that I hadn't heard of before, and they
Right.
have little historical essays and academic essays before each one that are only like 4 or 5 paragraphs long.
Wow.
So they're pretty easy to read. But then it's like really cool because you get to see like, how does R. Crumb do Gilgamesh? All right.
I read his Bible. Have you read the Old Testament?
That's in there. They included this other guy's version of Revelation. And
oh wow,
like,
that must be fucked up.
yeah, it's really cool. Like, and they do like some of the interpretations are really out there. Like the Dante's Inferno one is like the latest one from the Absurdist comic guy.
Oh yeah.
So like, there's a lot of really cool like indie comic stuff. Some of it's color, some of it's black and white. They're really expensive, but like if you're into comic books, they're like great coffee table books. I would have used them in the classroom if there weren't so many boobs. But like they do Lysistrata, and it's, you know, a Greek sex comedy. Like,
No sex.
Yeah.
so I'm all the way through the first one, and I've just started on the second one, and I think that takes us up.
Is
to
that
like,
the Golden Ass, or is that I'm thinking of another one?
No, Lysistrata is where like all the women in Sparta stop the war with the Athenians by agreeing to not have sex with any of the men.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like American Pie with Greeks,
Yeah.
basically. And it's really well done, and all of this, and they do like King Lear and like. But I'm about done with this one, and then the next one I think goes up to like Pride and Prejudice, and I think they're going to go all the way to like Infinite Jest with the third volume.
Wow.
And it's just like 4 or 5 pages of each, but like it's a really cool coffee table book, and I like it. It's expensive as hell, but worth it in my opinion.
It sounds like it. Next up, I have speaking of books. There's a one of the influences on Lovecraft is this guy named William Hope Hodgson, and he was right around the 1890s or early 20th century. He was killed in World War I, which was a tragedy, of course, because he was a great writer. He wrote 2 of his best known books are The Borderland and The Nightlands, and they're incredibly fantastic, evocative, really weird fucking fantasy or fiction. But The Nightland has been kind of criticized because it's really hard to read. It's really archaic, even by early 20th century pulp writer standards. Which, if you, it's public domain, so you can look it
That's
up.
pretty damn archaic.
Oh, have you looked? Just skim it. You'll see. You're like, holy shit, what the fuck? But it's public domain. So about 10 years ago, this guy, I can't remember his name, and I'm sorry, but he rewrote it so it was actually comprehensible or easier to, like, something you could just sort of burn through, and but keeping the same story. And basically, the Nightland is in the far future. Like, okay, first it starts with the prologue, like, hey, there's this English guy, and he falls in love with this beautiful woman, and they're really in love, yo. And then she dies in childbirth, and the kid dies too.
Is this the actual translation? Is that a direct
No. It is
It's
not
like No Fear Shakespeare.
Yeah, it's not that.
Juliet,
Yeah.
I love you, bitch.
For legit. No, it's not that bad. But then millions of years later, in the far future, this is early 20th century versions of what the apocalypse would be. So it's fucking weird as shit. You know, like the Earth shrinks, and like they live in a rift that was formerly at the bottom of an ocean. Like, so they're like, and they live in this massive, like, hundreds of miles long, massive rift or valley or super canyon, and they live in this giant pyramid that's like 8 miles high, and it's like 1,000 levels, and like all of humanity lives in this fucking pyramid, and it's an arcology. And they basically live off what they call the earth current, which is like geothermal power, but it has holiness to it because it keeps out the bad things. There's so many bad. Like, the thing is,
Wait, did somebody map this?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I've
Yeah.
seen the map, and I'm just like, that looks.
Oh, you know,
weird
it's
as
totally
hell.
the great thing about it is he never fucking explains. There's just the forces of evil and the forces of goodness. Goodness is kind of like, yeah, but the forces of evil are fucking everywhere, and they're weird as shit. Like, all right, there's 5 what they call the Watchers. They're 5 giant beings, and they just sit there and they watch the pyramid, and they move like an inch every century towards the pyramid, and so like that's it. They know that they're evil, and they can't get in, but they're like, what the fuck where do they come from? What do they do? Who knows? Then there's the Quiet City that has lights that have been burning for tens of thousands of years, and they're like, we know that's evil, but we don't like it. Or it's the Silent City. I'm sorry. So anyway, there's all this weird shit, and the guy's like, holy shit, there's another pyramid on the other side of the valley, hundreds of miles away, and my love has been reincarnated into a woman who lives there. So I need to cross the entire Nightlands and get her and come back with her. And no one's ever gone out in that place in century, but he knows the terrain very well, or at least for part of it, because the entire civilization is based on watching what's out there in the Nightlands. Like, all they do is they have telescopes, and they have a whole class of people who are scholars of monsters. All they do is watch the monsters out there. So like, they're all fucking, it's weird as shit, but it's like this guy trekking through here and through this crazy shit and coming back with her, and he doesn't even have it, like, they don't even have ranged weapons anymore, like, for some reason. What he does have is basically a stylized buzzsaw. Like, it's like a pole with a big spinning blade that he can just turn on and off at will, and it just cuts through anything. And it's crazy as hell. So it's great gaming material, and I'm going to use it in like Base Raiders as an alternate dimension or something, because it's public domain. You can use it for your own stuff or whatever.
Don't you kind of wish sometimes that you like could have a debilitating mental disease that you could turn on and off at will, and you're just like, all right, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
Flip on the crazy, get the dream journal, become a world-renowned author, and then, all right, oh, that was great. Flip it off in the morning, go to work.
Yeah.
Like, I really wish I could do that, because I feel like Lovecraft and those guys, that was their basic, like, what kind of crazy shit did I see in my night terrors last night?
Oh, the mountains beyond. We hear enormous laughter from 100 miles away behind these mountains. We don't know what causes it, but every couple hours there's laughter. Like,
the end.
Yeah. So that's the Nightlands Retold, and it's on Amazon Kindle. It's like $3. It's worth reading. Last couple three, I'll just go through these two comics. Wizards of the Coast does a comic, and they've recently been doing comics that explain their classic dungeon modules. They have one that's called the Tomb of Horrors. That's the one I'll link to. And it's just Caleb's seen it. It's just this massive image showing like every single location in the Tomb of Horrors and what happens to this party of old D&D characters as they go through it. Like, oh, this is how the illusionist dies. Oh, this is how the barbarian dies. Frustrated, the barbarian summons 300 of his followers. 130 of them die in the fire pit. You know.
Whoops.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's Steve Rogers' diary comic. Someone's basically doing a series, like Steve Rogers, Captain America, is a artist, so why wouldn't he do his own diary comic? So it's like him, the movie version of Captain America, doing a comic of like him talking about fucking Damien Hirst with Pepper Potts at lunch, and like him getting like, what the fuck, I was asleep for 70 years and I come back and I see this shit in the museum. What the fuck? Like, I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm sorry, curse. Like, and Pepper's like, it's fine. So that's really good. And then finally, Surrealist RPG. I just got a review copy of it called Interest B. It's surreal 1920s kind of theme. It's indie. It looks crazy as hell. I'm going to try and run it for the actual Play podcast. So yeah, and Tom, you have the last one.
Yeah, I have one. Is actually a Nick Fury comic series I'm reading.
Yeah,
called My War Gone Past, I believe is what it's called.
Okay.
And it's essentially about Nick Fury and his years after World War II.
Yeah.
Like, the one I started in, it's showing him going on a mission with Frank Castle in Vietnam in 1970.
It's not this isn't the Max one.
It's the Max one.
It's the Max one, the 5-issue miniseries? Or
it's still going.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was like issue 6 that.
Okay.
And it's.
Well, you know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
No, this one is like, it's him in Vietnam. Then they've now gone. What I really love now is now they've gone to Nicaragua in the 80s, and Barracuda's there.
Of course.
So I mean, they're kind of revisiting old Max characters.
I gotcha.
So I mean, it's really great stuff. Just good war stories.
Okay. And Nick Fury, what can go wrong?
And it's Nick.
Who's writing it? Do you know? It's not Garth Ennis.
No, I don't believe it's Garth Ennis. It's the. It's the same artist that did a lot of the Punisher Max stuff.
Okay,
but no, it's just a really great comic.
Cool,
I love it. I like Nick Fury in the Max series.
Of course,
just
who would?
As a just a hard drinking cigar smoking badass that doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, that is the essence of the archetypal Frank Miller.
And like each one, it starts always with like Nick Fury in his 80s. So you're kind of recording, this book he's making.
I got you. Cool. All right. So finally, before we go, we have anecdotes, and we've decided we all have a recent Aaron-related story to tell.
Caleb has a
Aaron is a fan favorite, and
he is.
He is. So, Caleb.
All right, so we're running this Knights Black Agent campaign, Tribes of Tokyo, and last couple of weeks we've been having a lot of trouble being like, what do we do next? I don't know. Vampires are scary. So I'm like, fuck this. We need a plan because we're spies. So Jason tells me earlier in the day that he's not going to be able to make it. So before we have the game, I stat out this, like, I think it was literally a 17-step plan, and I had a shopping list of at least 25 things that I wanted, and it was like ridiculously elaborate plan to get more intelligence. But I planned it for like the four of us who were going to be there, and I had all our character sheets copied, and I was like looking at like what skills we have, who's going to be best for this. And since it's a point spin system, like it's foolproof. You just spend the point, you get stuff. So we actually get to play it, and then David doesn't show up too. So like 1/4 of the plan is gone. And I really can't reassign Tom's character to do anything because he's got guns. And as you hear, Operation Black Dolphin, when it's posted, we needed the guns. So it falls to Aaron's character to take up the slack because he was really just going to be on electronic hacking oversight. But David's character is like a 19-year-old gigantic switchblade wielding Yakuza member.
Well, no, he's older. He's a veteran.
Well, he's a gigantic switchblade wielding Yakuza member. And so Aaron had to perform his job. And so the whole idea was to hire these ultranationalists to harass a corporation for the Yakuza and then get arrested in the process, and it was hilarious. Like, at the very beginning, just trying to hire the with money in hand, knowing that this is what they do for the Yakuza. Yeah, it just got ridiculous really fast. And then him trying to get arrested, it's like he doesn't like jaywalk or yell at it. He just immediately goes like tasing people and like I think he tried to break a window with a brick and he fumbled the roll, so it like just bounced off the window ineffectually or something. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was Aaron.
He's Cyril from Archer.
Yeah, making Aaron be a undercover Yakuza agent trying to get arrested was pretty great. But the plan worked. So.
It did.
Okay, yeah, I got one. Aaron is currently playing in my Pathfinder campaign.
Yeah.
And he hasn't done much in the last few sessions, which is why what he did in the last session, I think, was he decided to totally go do something.
Yeah.
So one of the plot points is there's a ship that's controlled by the Empire. It's kind of more about almost a mile offshore, off the harbor. And it's rumored that bad things are afoot on it. So Aaron decides to go off by himself. He's playing a Warforged, by the way. Yeah, who's not
a magical robot for those of you who are not familiar with it.
And he's not stealthy at all, but he decides he just walks along.
Well, his class is gunslinger, which is like you're fighting with guns. It's a fighter type class.
So he's walking on the bottom of the ocean,
the harbor.
Of the harbor.
Yeah.
Towards the ship, two I'm butchering that. I think it's Shahugans, the evil fish guys accost him.
Sharkmen.
More evil fish guys.
Well, they're
not sharks though. They're sharks.
Pretty sharky.
Well, whatever. Anyway, so he somehow convinces them to says, "I'll give you some money and I owe you a favor if you help me aboard the ship." So he did it, and so he climbs up the anchor chain.
We kind of hand wave the whole thing. How the fuck are they talking underwater?
Because I figured he's a magical robot. So
wizards and Shahugans are magical shark devil.
So why
people?
not?
Yeah. So wizards did that.
So he climbs up the chain, gets stuck trying to get in through the into the ship through the anchor chain. So but forces his way through, finds himself in the bilge, comes up through this crate into the cargo hold where there's all kinds of cargo of interest.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't know what his plan was at this moment, but he made enough rolls to know there were guards on the other side of the door. So he tries to find out what open the crate, see what's in them. He can't do it, and he makes some noise, which causes the guards to look inside. And I don't know how many natural ones he rolled during this encounter, but it was more than 3.
I think it was 3 or 4. I want to say 3 or 4. But yeah, I was right next to him. So yeah, that's a natural one.
So the 2 guards see him, and then they initiate combat.
Yeah.
And he decides to hold his ground, even though he knows, having been briefed, that there are like 50 soldiers on the ship.
Yeah.
And so he starts fighting. He knows there's more guards coming, but he just keeps trying to take them out.
Yeah.
He doesn't retreat. No retreat, no surrender.
I guess.
And he doesn't even actually manage. He wounds some of them, and one takes out his partner from firing into melee.
Well, yeah, critical failure.
But he keeps trying until finally, like 6 more guys come down.
Yeah.
And he keeps getting injured, and so he has to finally duck stack back down the ship and escapes. So he got to look. He glimpsed inside the cargo hold, but that's really all he managed to do in this raid. He decided to take by himself.
Right.
No backup.
I applaud him. I mean, it was better.
It was great initiative. I mean,
Yeah.
just not a very well thought out plan.
Yeah.
All right, I remember the best part of my anecdote that I forgot. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's been a week. So Aaron's disguise check, which we rolled like a 20 or something on,
Yeah.
is like
Well,
total
12, but this is a D6 system.
total rockabilly,
Yeah.
hipster Japanese guy with like,
Yeah.
he's got a Reverend Horton Heat t-shirt and like just completely, he's wearing like leather chaps or something, just completely westernized. And so not only does he hire the ultranationalists who are like, stuffed shirt, believe the emperor is God, they should go back to World War II, Japanese imperialism. Then when he's trying to get arrested, Aaron starts shouting all these ultranationalist slogans, and everyone just gets confused because he's dressed like the most Western Japanese person on the island, and he's just like, the Emperor! Oh. God love him.
It's like, did you invite him? No, I thought you did.
So I have one anecdote for him too. This week, RJ was in town, so I ran Spear of the Century for him, Drew, and Aaron, because Aaron was the only one who didn't have work that night, and I played basically the scenario is called Attack of the Murder Hobos. 1933 New York. The hobos are all looking. There's 4 factions of vagrant fighting men who all have different fighting styles, and they're all looking for Ars Pugilism, a book of magical fighting techniques that will.
Ars Pugilism.
Yes,
you son of a bitch.
Yeah, whoever has it will be the most badass fighter in the world, and so they're all fighting to become have their faction crowned King of the Hobos. And King of the Vagrants, I'm sorry. So there's 3 factions. One is the Murder Hobos, who are ninja hobos with then that they attack the PCs, and that initiates the action. Like, where's the book? They think the PCs have the book, and the PCs don't have the book. So then the other 3, they find out that the other 3 factions are the River Rats, who have boats. Then there are the Gun Bums, who have guns, and then there are the Steam Tramps. So as soon as who have steampunk weapons and technology, and as soon as Aaron finds out about this, he immediately finds out where they are and goes to them to help them. Like, he has no idea who they are or what their intentions are, but he decides that I will go and talk to them and help them out. And so later on, while he's at their abandoned factory, talking to them, they are attacked by the Gun Bums, who want to take them all out, take out the competition. Aaron, this is at night, and Aaron, in order to help the Steam Tramps, uses his universal gadget ability to just declare he has a gadget that collects moonlight, and brightens it somehow so he can blind all the Gun Bums who are rushing towards the factory. So that was Aaron's major decision during the game.
Thus staving the Steam Tramps orphan flaying machine.
Yes, which I should have mentioned, but probably. Yeah. So yeah, that was. I'll have that game up shortly. We're good. We have a Monster and Other Childish Things game that we're going to post next, which is called Coronet, and it will be totally awesome and baller. But anyways, I think that's about it for RPPR episode.
Indeed,
85.
indeed.
We 3 games. So
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
We like having you.
this is Ross Payton, Tom Church, and Caleb, and we'll see you guys next time.